We'd like to begin this podcast by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, the Whadjuk Noongar people, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. Free the Hounds does not endorse any particular political party and works entirely as an advocacy group for greyhounds. The opinions of the host of the podcast are his own and are not endorsed or supported by Free the Hounds. Hi Mel, episode 34, Talking Couch Potatoes. We're back.
Woohoo! Yes, we did have a little break.
We need a little rest now and then, don't we?
Some of us do, yes.
But we're back, episode 34. I've got some news I can't keep to myself, Mel. It's just, I'm bursting. Absolutely bursting
at the studio. Go on.
Well, you know Greenland's been in the news lately, right?
Yeah.
You know, They've missed the lead story, Mel. All the news organisations have completely buried the lead, which is, and I want a drum roll for this, Jim, if you're editing it. The latest listener to Talking Couch Potatoes, finally, Greenland are on board, Mel.
Greenland
are on board. We have listeners in Greenland. Welcome aboard, Greenland. The prophecy that I foretold is coming to pass. Greenland means the end of greyhound racing.
You have made me one of the happiest women on the planet, Greenland.
Hello,
Thank
Greenland.
you.
Thank you,
Hello.
Greenland.
Welcome to Talking Couch Potatoes.
Welcome aboard. And you should go back and listen, Greenland, because you've been a big feature of this podcast.
Absolutely.
Something in my waters, I don't know what it was, said that when we get Greenland, it's the beginning of the end.
Absolutely. Of
So,
greyhound racing. Not of the world.
Well, it could be. I don't know. No, I think it's the beginning of the end of greyhound racing.
Yep.
So Greenland's on board. I have to give a shout out, Mel, to Alan.
Yes.
Because I know Alan did some strong behind the scenes work. He was basically our cultural liaison to Greenland to get him on board. And I think we owe Alan a debt of gratitude.
Absolutely. Thank you, Al.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Greenland. New Zealand, big news.
I know.
They've finally come to their senses and they've ended it, haven't they? It's done.
They haven't ended it. They're phasing it out.
By when, Mel? Do you know?
They've got...
Just a couple of years, 27 or something like that?
Yeah.
Well done, New Zealand.
Absolutely. Just for our listeners too, New Zealand and Western Australia racing is very similar in size. So it will be a litmus test, I guess, for politicians here in Western Australia to have a look at. And we are also talking to SPCA and SAFE in New Zealand about how they went about the process of phasing it out working.
Yeah.
And see if we can duplicate something here in WA or have that as an option for people to look at should we get an inquiry. Yeah.
And am I wrong in assuming, Mel, that actually the greyhound industry in Australia is even more problematic and...
100%. It is here in WA.
Right.
We have greater injuries in Western Australia.
So even more cause to sort of have a look at what they're doing and maybe think about following suit.
Or at least, as we said, have an inquiry. Let's look into it. Let the government really know what goes on.
Yep.
And take it from there.
Mel, what is happening here in WA with Free the Hounds? What can people go to? What do they need to know about?
Okay, so on the 19th of January, we had Grace's 13th birthday. Grace is a canodrome survivor from the Macau Canodrome.
Yep.
Stephen Price's little dog. And we spoke to Beth, who had Albie, who was also a canodrome survivor in episode 33.
The last episode.
Yeah. And also we had Andrea Pollard from CPG. Her girl, Hope, was at the walk. And she's also from Macau. And also Alana Christensen, who was the former president of Free the Hounds, her girl Ivy was there as well. So it was lovely to have 3 of the original 5.
Yep.
So that was a really lovely walk with lots of greyhounds and also a birthday cake after we had, which was great.
Happy birthday, Grace.
I know. We had the bake sale fundraiser last weekend at Earthwise at Subiaco, which was a great event. There was a lot of support there for Free the Hounds. My daughter Bronte actually made a lot of the vegan food or cakes.
Thanks, Bronte.
There.
Hi, Bronte.
Yes.
Hope you're listening.
My little chef.
Your mum is amazing.
Do you know, I don't think they've ever listened. None of my kids have listened to an
Bronte.
episode of this.
Well, tell her that she's mentioned in this one.
Oh, well, she might listen.
Yeah.
And also, of course, Beth's little company that she's started, Albie's Delicious Delights.
Albie's Delicious Delights. We are a huge consumer of Albie's Delicious Delights.
You are, you're too.
It's ridiculous.
So, yeah, that was Beth. Albie's
mummy.
Mummy, yeah, she helped promote and raise money for Free the Hounds through that bake sale, which was great. Lovely day. It's always nice to be amongst a bunch of good humans.
Yeah, all the Free the Hounds people are good humans.
Yeah,
I've met so
most
many.
Of them.
Yeah.
You can be a bit of a dick at times.
Yeah. I'm the exception that proves the rule. Yeah.
But one thing that has been a real delight for me is that Hannah, who I adore, she is Georgia the Grey's human sister.
Yeah, we've spoken to Hannah a couple of times now.
Yeah.
Hi, Hannah. How are you?
Yeah. She released a book, which is awesome, called Georgia the Grey Comes Home to Stay. So that's on pre-sale now. So if you want to go to our Facebook page or Instagram or Georgia the Grey's Instagram or Lily Longnose Instagram or Facebook pages, there are links to the pre-sale there, because Lily Longnose series, the second book has come out, which we've spoken to Emily about before.
Yep.
And that is called Lily Longnose, the Fashion Star.
Oh, of
so that's
course.
book 2. So that's really exciting. Great things to get behind. Not only are these emerging authors, they're great kids' books, they also help to raise money for greyhound rescue and rehoming.
And really huge friends of the podcast, of Talking Couch Potatoes as well. If you go back to episode 5, we had a chat with Hannah. And then I think in episode 17, we had a kids episode. Episode 28, we had a chat to Emily all about Lily Longnose.
That's right, yep.
So we're going to have them back on soon, aren't we, to talk about the new book?
Yeah, she agreed to in another few months when it's actually on the shelf, so to speak.
Oh, I look forward to that one.
Yeah.
Anything else going on, Mel? Anything you sort of on your mind?
No, I've just got the horrible stats.
Yeah, we haven't done the stats for a couple of episodes. Mixed feelings about stats. So essential that we know the carnage and the injuries and the abuse that happens. But I'm always a little bit shocked every time you read these things, because it's not getting any better, is it, Mel?
No, sadly this year. Well, this is the calendar year for 2024. Okay, so killed on track was a total of 22 dogs. There was one that was deceased on track, so he died. When the vet got there, he was already dead.
Oh,
so
okay,
that's the difference.
Right,
yeah. There's 20 were injured on track, but then euthanized off track shortly after. There was 60 that were stood down for 90 days, so that's a major injury.
Mm-hmm.
None of them came back to race. There was 7 stood down for 60 days and 6 for 42 days. So that's sort of where the cutoff is of the larger injuries.
Mm-hmm.
There was also 400 that had no apparent injury.
Right.
So they've fallen or they've tripped or they've run slow or something, and the vet's like, I need to check them. But then after being checked, there's nothing apparent. That's not to say that
they've had some kind of experience,
while running.
At the very least,
yeah. And then there was 809 that were injured off track. So we have no data on what kind of injuries they were. So we only know those because they were scratched from racing. So there would have been a lot more than that actually weren't nominated to race yet, but were injured anyway. So that's
so
not,
it could
that
be
doesn't even...
It's the tip of the iceberg, potentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's a total of 1,878 injuries.
That's unreal, isn't it?
In the calendar year.
You know what? It brings up 2 things for me, Mel. One is this specious argument that the pro racers bring up that, dogs can get injured running in the park. What's the figure?
878.
Right. So
dogs were affected.
Let's cut the bollocks here on this false equivalency between normal everyday injuries that dogs get in happy home life and the inevitable far greater level of injury that happens when we force these dogs to train in this way and to run in this way. Exactly. It's just not the same thing, is it?
So it's not. And because these dogs are being trained far too early before their actual bones are formed properly and they finish growing, that exacerbates the injuries.
I read something, maybe I'm wrong here, and forgive me if we'll do some fact-checking on this next time. The average age of greyhounds that die is something around 2.5 years. I'll double-check that, but it's extremely young, you know. Yeah. I mean, what age do some of these greyhounds race at?
They have to be about 17 months old.
Right.
17, 18 months old.
So a year and a half or so, yeah. The other thing that comes to mind, Mel, is these dodgy figures that we get sometimes from the industry that says, the injury rate is 1 or 1% or whatever it is, because they use the number of
Starters, yep.
When you look at those figures, 1,800 odd dogs, and then we look at the numbers that died, it speaks to the real figure, doesn't it? That is actually, if you look at it per dog over its career,
it's way higher.
Around 35, 40% of all dogs will either get some kind of injury or a catastrophic injury or die.
Yep.
That's over 1 in 3.
Yep.
So let's stop this bollocks again about the equivalency between injuries and deaths in the normal community.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. And we're not saying that dogs being injured in the park is good either. It's not.
No.
But why exacerbate that by having greyhound racing?
Right. There's an inevitability, isn't there, in the industry? The stuff that happens in people's homes and whatever, it's sad, but it's not baked into the cake.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just an accident.
Yep.
I'm getting. See, this is why you can't.
I
The
know.
stats section gets me all hepped up, Mel.
I know.
I'm hepped up now. I'm going to have to calm myself down before I talk to Amanda and Natalie, who are our next guests coming up.
Well, I've still got their financials.
Oh, sorry.
So
what's going on there?
So in total, there was $21,664,323.
Is that in prize money, do you mean? Is that what that is?
That's the total, made up of $2.4 million paid to trainer subsidies.
Wow.
$17.8 million in stake money won, $1.1 million for breeding bonuses, and $178,000 went to welfare.
Oh, wow. 178,000 out of how many? 20 odd million.
6.
So that's a tiny percentage, really.
Yeah.
And the other thing that stands out to me every time you do these bloody stats is this breeding bonus bullshit. So we've got a rehoming crisis.
Yep.
Yeah, we can barely rehome these animals, and they're getting extra money for breeding more of them.
So if they breed a dog in Western Australia, and it places in certain races, they get a bonus on top of whatever they win. Right.
So they're getting paid money while the rehoming groups and the advocacy groups are trying to raise money any way they can just to support the rehoming of the... Sounds like an absurd system. If you add on top as well, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of this money that we're talking about comes out of my taxpayer pocket, doesn't it?
Yeah, and this again goes to this huge argument, but it's not taxpayer money. It comes from the gambling, but gambling is down. Racing and Wagering made a $40 million loss.
Right.
RAWA, Racing and Wagering WA, is owned by our government.
Yep.
The WA Greyhound Racing Association sits within our government. So if it's not taxpayer money, whose money is it?
Yeah, it's a bit of book cooking or something like that's going on.
Yeah, well, it's
money that could go elsewhere. Can we at least say that? It's money that is available
to be used
for more affordable housing, for some, all sorts of things, yeah? That's a fact.
And a lot of those participants, a lot of that 21.6 million won't have been taxed because it's a hobby. Right. So there's no tax on it.
If it's a hobby, then go pay for it yourself. I've got hobbies.
I know.
I've got some nice hobbies I'd like some funding for.
Yep.
I can't tell you what they are on air because
we don't want to know.
No.
And it's funny because a supporter of racing made a comment, because these stats we obviously put onto our social media, and he made a comment saying, that's rich coming from a charity that doesn't pay tax. And I'm like, you have to make money to pay fucking tax.
Yeah, you're swanning around in your 3-story house in South Perth milking this organisation for all it's worth, aren't you?
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Is that really what you want to argue with us about?
It's another specious argument.
But why isn't it about, that's really bad that 22 dogs had to be euthanized on track.
Yeah.
Let's work together to make that better.
Yeah.
Why do they have to be like we're being,
The only motive of Free the Hounds is to protect the hounds.
Absolutely.
And as I've mentioned multiple times, we are more than welcome to reach across and work together. The ultimate goal is to get rid of this outdated, inhumane, unsustainable sport. But we're not in the game of trying to demonise anyone or hurt anyone. In fact, I've offered multiple times, if you're a reasonable, rational person who happens to be pro-racing, come and have a chat with us. Let's get down to a real honest conversation about this. Yeah. But I do find we get a lot of attacks, I guess, and I know, Mel, have been the victim of some personal attacks on yourself. I don't think that forwards anything, does it?
No, it doesn't.
We can agree to disagree
Yeah.
and have an adult civil conversation about these different viewpoints. But, you know, the bottom line is it's getting phased out everywhere. There's only a handful of countries that are still doing this. So just jump on the right side of history if you can.
Yeah.
If you can't, come and tell us why you think we're wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? If you're going to treat people that way and be so nasty and unkind, then I do wonder what you do
What does it speak
to your animals.
Yeah.
How you treat your animals. Because
Right.
honestly, if you're a good human, you're a good human. It doesn't matter whether it's to a dog, a cat, a horse, whatever. And I'm not talking about veganism or anything like that. That's
No, you talk about how you treat your fellow beings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you're going to rip into people any chance you get being unkind, then, you know.
And downright abusive at times.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
a big shout out to our listeners, Talk Couch Potatoes, and those who care for greyhounds and work in the advocacy field, and those who support Free the Hounds. Also, if you find yourself in a disagreement with someone on the other side of the fence, just hold your civility, hold your dignity. It's really important that we don't lower ourselves to some of the levels I've seen on social media, and I've heard about, Mel, you having to tolerate, because it's not about demonising the other, it's about educating and about moving forward in some way.
Absolutely.
With that in mind, Mel, we've got a couple of great guests on today who are a part of the Animal Justice Party.
That's right.
Looking forward to see what they've got to say.
Absolutely.
All right, Mel, it's time. We've got two special guests today. Amanda Dorn, who is the lead candidate for the Animal Justice Party WA with the election coming up. Very timely interview.
Absolutely.
And we've got Natalie Bergen, who's the deputy convener of the Animal Justice Party, AJP WA. Welcome aboard, guys. How are you?
Hi, ladies.
Thanks very much.
Thanks very much for having us.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to have you here. Yeah. So I imagine this is a busy time for everyone with the election 5 weeks away. What's it like heading into an election?
We've been doing a lot of community outreach and having high-level conversations with CEOs, with, say, presidents of such people like Free the Hounds, for instance, and just trying to bring community together and bring wildlife sanctuaries together and just to bring all the different animal organisations together and unify everybody under what the Animal Justice Party is trying to achieve.
Right, strength in numbers.
Absolutely.
To a degree,
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's working in their own division if it comes to the cat haven or the dog refuge centres, but we want to bring everybody together, and everybody that we've spoken to wants the same thing.
Yeah, right. That fits really well with sort of Free the Hounds, your credo, doesn't it, Mel? That the way forward is to collaborate and communicate, not to sort of divide.
No, that's right. We want to work with as many people as possible to achieve the same outcome, in this case for greyhounds. Definitely.
And Amanda, you're the lead candidate for AJP in WA. How are things looking? Sort of where are you set up for some success, do you think?
Well, I'd never had a passion for politics. I've got a passion for justice.
Yep.
Genuine change only occurs when legislation actually changes, and I'm passionate about changing legislation for the better. Animal welfare isn't a left or a right issue, it's a moral issue.
Yep.
And we want to take all animals out of entertainment, and it will start with greyhound racing, and it's just coincidentally that we do actually align with the same values with what Free the Hounds want to achieve.
Yeah, awesome. And Natalie, you're the deputy convener of AJP. Forgive my political ignorance, but what does a deputy convener do?
I'm doing lots of the election working groups.
Yep.
So fundraising, community outreach, marketing and materials, producing the how to vote cards, organizing the volunteers, things like that.
Right. So a lot of the behind the scenes kind of work, I guess?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, this is such an exciting time. The momentum is there. This is our real first opportunity of getting an MP at the state level.
Yep.
The stars are aligning. There's lots of different things happening in the geopolitical space, and this is our time to get Amanda elected. So it's all hands on deck.
Yeah, brilliant. And Amanda, you're standing for this election. You mentioned your interest in change from a moral perspective.
Mm-hmm.
When did that begin for you? Can you...
I think as soon as I met members within the party about maybe 6-7 years ago, in fact, and I knew that I wanted to run, and I thought everything that the Animal Justice Party stood for aligned with my own values, and I thought, what a fantastic political party. The Animal Justice Party is a revolution in kindness, and I loved it. I love the fact that we're bigger than what this is what we're actually trying to achieve here. It's not about politics. It's literally the moral stance of what we're actually trying to achieve.
What's your sense of what might be the biggest misconception about the AJP, and how would you reframe that in terms of your experience of the AJP and what they stand for?
We're not just a single issue party. Our core values are kindness, equality, rationality and non-violence, and these are far-reaching. Our policies, position statements capture not only animals but people and the planet too. As I said before, the Animal Justice Party is a revolution in kindness. We're people and the planet based as well, but we will fight for our policies within government and put animals first and foremost, but there's so many other things to vote on within Parliament. Yep. Especially when it comes to planet issues and also people issues as well, such as homelessness and definitely the cost of living crisis.
You mentioned, what was it, a revolution in kindness was that phrase. I like that, Mel. We were talking earlier about trying to work in the same way you were saying about bringing people together. Free the Hounds try to work with different groups, advocacy groups, rehoming groups, even with racing groups as much as we can. And you were saying about this idea that the way that a human being treats an animal speaks to the sort of moral character and the ethics of that person in general. So, to be an AJP voter, as you mentioned, your core sort of value system might lie around animals, but it sort of has tentacles across all sorts of areas, doesn't it? How you treat other human beings, your ideas about a social safety net, your ideas about your fellow brothers and sisters in your community. So it's a good sort of core heart aspect to have, isn't it? This sort of kindness toward animals.
It's a far-reaching, and it goes a lot deeper than animals. But that's a starting point, because animals don't have a voice in Parliament. Yeah. We want to give animals a voice in Parliament to recognise their sentience and to bring to the forefront, when it comes to greyhound racing, the systemic cruelty of that industry, literally just for money. But there's what the Free the Hounds have actually done, which we're so grateful for all the hard work that they have done, is expose the secrets of that industry that none of us were aware of. And if we can expose all of that to a wider audience, to more of the general public, then they'll be on the same page with us, with you, to end greyhound racing.
Yeah.
I wanted to add as well a misconception that many people will have is that we're very radical, but actually, if you look at our policies, you'll see they're very practical. We do have, our policy on end greyhound racing. Definitely, that's our end goal, our main goal, but we have objectives that lead up to that, such as stopping the government funding and subsidies, because we know that this industry won't be able to continue without these. So it's small steps. We see that we can't change everything immediately, but we need some incremental changes in order to be able to help the greyhounds ultimately.
And consultation with the industry to transition the trainers and owners out of that industry as well. So we're very thoughtful with, it's not just ending it. It's, as Natalie said, it's incremental changes to help transition those people out of that industry.
Absolutely.
Which was one of the recommendations of the, wasn't it, the petition that Free the Hounds, and AJP were a big helper on that petition as well that we presented. Nearly 30,000 signatures last year. Episode 13 is the Petition 2024 Explained, if you want to know more about that.
And I was just going to go back onto what you said too, Natalie, about the fact that people think that AJP are radical. That's a really good point, and that's what we would encourage our listeners to do, is to look at not only AJP's policies but all of the political parties' policies ahead of the election, because voting has changed, as we know, in the upper house this year. So your vote can really be used for good if you look at the policies and not listen to what might be on social media or what your friends say, or
even the mainstream media can be quite polarising.
I don't even think about them anymore. It's just so one-sided. But really look into what each party has to say and do your homework.
And go onto the website. What's the website for? Is it Animal Justice Party WA /policies?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there on Mel. If this is the only issue that people are wanting information on, then we need the primary vote. We need people to vote one for the Animal Justice Party. If this is the one single issue that we can agree on, then great. Just vote one for us. That's all you need to do.
Yep.
Speaking of voting, what could we expect? Say you guys do okay come March, pick up a seat. What could those who vote for you expect you to get onto in Parliament?
Sure. AJP will definitely action all of our policies and positions that appear on our website, ending greyhound racing for a start, end the overbreeding of greyhounds. Our 3 policy platforms is introducing Veticare, which is affordable vet treatment for low-income individuals. Veticare also includes greyhound animal foster carers, support rehoming groups, including greyhounds, right through to wildlife carers. We want to protect our iconic wildlife, recognition of the importance of the dingo, saving the black cockatoo from development. So these are our 3 main platforms.
Yeah. Yep. That Veticare is really such an important part.
Absolutely.
And to get elected this time, I was saying the stars are aligning. We need just over 40,000 votes to get Amanda elected.
Right.
As you said, 30,000 people have already signed the petition. So what a great start that is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going into March.
Yeah, and 40,000 might sound a lot, but it's not really, is it?
That's doable.
It's definitely it's doable statewide. It just means that all those people share the same values as what we do, and they want the change that we want. We need definite change. We're desperate for it, and this is just we're super excited about the election for that.
Yeah,
and the greyhounds can't vote. The Animal Justice Party was created to be a voice for the animals, and the best way that you can help them is by voting AJP.
Use your voice for the voiceless.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a pretty good rationale for why people should vote for the AJP. How else would you sell the party to the people that are maybe wavering, they may be dissatisfied with the major parties, sitting on the fence, and maybe don't know as much about AJP? What would your message to those sort of people be as to why they might want to come into the fold?
The clearest message would be that we're a scientific solutions-based political party. And we're determined to work with everyone in Parliament to get the best result for everyone, and that includes animals. We want to address the effects of climate change. That's incredibly important to many people. The housing crisis also, but there's something within our policies that would resonate with somebody. If it's not greyhounds, it would definitely be something else that we will address.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed, Mel, that stands out maybe from other parties, especially the big ones, is that lovely phrase, revolution in kindness on housing, on animal welfare issues. There's not a big focus, because there's probably enough of it elsewhere, on, say, economic issues or, let's bring up the GDP. And I think that's maybe going to be attractive to some people whose focus lies elsewhere. Would that be a fair sort of thing to say around AGP?
Absolutely, but also when you look at the economics, if we're putting aside animal welfare for a minute when it comes to greyhound racing, then look at the economics of what it is actually costing the taxpayer. And if you disagree with that and where your tax dollars are going, then vote 1 for us, because we want to end that for the economic side of things.
Yeah, right.
So that's exactly what we want to focus on.
Yep, brilliant. Now, obviously, the thing that is closest to our hearts at Free the Hounds is the hounds, and finding a way to phase out, as New Zealand have done recently. Congrats, Kiwis. What's your position? Is it aligned sort of with Free the Hounds? Would you go a little further?
Look, personally, I'm surprised that it's still allowed to continue, in all honesty. And we want to end greyhound racing in the first term of the new government. We understand with incremental changes, and I understand what Mel has said about having a straight track, where that could happen if the Cannington racetrack closed down, because we'd love to shut that down. Mayor Patrick Hall is definitely on board with wanting to close the track down as well. We'd love to see the vets make a stand and boycott their appearance at the tracks. That's what we'd like to see. But people are definitely horrified once they realise the true cost of the industry, not only the unacceptable death and injury toll on greyhounds, but the sheer cost of taxpayers' money just to keep the tracks running. So I think just exposing that to a wider audience.
Yeah. And as you know, being a loyal listener of Talking Couch Potatoes,
yes, I am.
We had a really good chat. If you have a listen to what Andrew Knight said back in episode 6, there's actually no long-term sustainable way to ensure that these beautiful creatures never get injured or killed. So, I think we're all for a planned soft landing phase out, but the idea that we can find a way to keep this so-called sport running in a way that doesn't cause cruelty to animals, I think it's a bit of a pipe dream, isn't it?
I agree. I think shutting the Cannington racetrack down would be a terrific first start. Repurposing the track, having community consultation on what people want for that, be it markets, public open space, whatever that might be. And then in the meantime, encourage all the trainers and the owners to phase out.
Transition out. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. What a great block of land it is too. Imagine what you could do there.
You know, Animal Justice Party, we're here to protect all animals. But this is one that is so prime. We can do this now.
Right.
You know, we're ready. The society is ready. We've got public support. It's time now to get this done. There's lots and lots of animals that need help. The hounds will be able to come first because they are right for the picking, let's say.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just a matter of having the strength within government as well to actually stand up against the government, to stand up for them, basically.
Yeah, we're talking about sort of systemic and institutional change here and advocating and fighting for that. On a personal level, what's your sort of experience of greyhounds, Amanda?
I've just gotten my first greyhound, who is actually a foster fail. I joined Gawa after my senior disabled pug passed away, and so I did join the greyhound adoption, and I will definitely adopt Mr. Marble. I am.
When did he arrive in your little family?
4 weeks ago.
Oh wow, brand new.
Yeah.
So you're a brand new member of the cult. It's a bit cultish. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard you say that before. On
I'm
the podcast.
sorry. You'll understand soon. Yeah.
Look, we've been around the greyhounds with Free the Hounds for a long time now, and with Alan Dolphin, and just seeing the way everybody interacts with their greyhounds, it's just fabulous. And it was a fabulous creature that I definitely wanted to bring into my home. So I definitely have room for other fosters, but this one I will definitely adopt, Marble. And he's just a beautiful, really, his personality is coming out.
Yeah.
And
How old's Marble?
3. And he's very affectionate, and he loves chasing a ball and bringing it back.
He brings it back.
He brings it
You're
back.
very
That's
lucky.
rare. That's absolutely a rarity.
Wow. And I've also got a cavoodle as well, and they play really well together. She's a smaller dog, and I really wanted them to eat together and play together, and that's really come about. And he loves
That's
it.
awesome.
It's really, she's taught him how to, I think, be a pet.
To dog.
Yeah, to be
Aw,
a dog, yeah.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah.
That's enough of a reason to vote for Amanda, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
She's a greyhound mama. I don't need to know anything about your social justice stuff. You know, go ahead and do it. But you're a greyhound mama. Done.
Thanks very much, Matt. That's really reassuring. Thank you.
This has been very enlightening, and it's great to hear more about where the AJP stands on things. What else would you have to say to our listeners? What sort of message would you want to leave them with?
I think just to let people know that we're the only political party dedicated and focused on putting the welfare of all animals on the political agenda. People can put their compassion for animals into action by voting 1 for us. Just vote 1. We need the primary vote, so vote 1 for the Animal Justice Party and put your compassion into action.
Brilliant.
I like that. Put your compassion into action.
And if you wanted to help out, you know, we're only a few weeks away from the election. Pre-polling, 45% of people vote are early voters.
Yep.
And so we need people at the voting booths handing out our how to vote cards. You will see a greyhound right on the front page because it is one of our main election campaigns.
There you go.
So yeah, sign up on our website to volunteer.
So go and Google Animal Justice Party, jump on the website, you can get involved, help out at polling, and you get to see a lovely greyhound.
I will, yeah, definitely. Mr. Marble will be on the campaign trail for sure.
Brilliant.
That's always fun.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out. I'm sure your schedule is going to get busier and busier over the next 5 weeks. Maybe if you have some luck, I mean, when you're a member of Parliament, I should say, come back and talk to us again. Tell us what it's like.
We'd love to.
Can't
Absolutely.
wait.
We'll bring our friend Georgie Purcell with us, and no problems.
Oh, Georgie Purcell, she's my all-time
Oh, we
favourite.
know.
I'm a
Gosh, you have
fangirl.
to bring her up to
Don't
Amanda.
mention.
It's going to be another few hours now. No.
I still got my Georgie Purcell purple T-shirt. I wear it around now and then. All right. Thank you very much, guys. Yeah, hope to talk to you again when things go well after the election.
Thank you so much, Mel. Thanks very much,
Cheers.
Matt, for having us. I think we've covered everything. It's just been really terrific being invited here. Thank you.
Awesome.
Right. Most welcome.
Thank you.
See you guys. Rightio, Mel, that brings us to the end of episode 34. Well, nice having a chat to Amanda and Natalie.
I know, lovely
Yeah.
people, and I love the the catchphrase, if you like.
Yes, revolution in kindness.
Yep,
I like
yep.
that. Amanda's a force of nature, I think.
Yeah, yep.
Which we need, don't we? Especially strong women
Yeah,
representation in Parliament. So you jump on there, Google Animal Justice Party, basically. Check it out if you want to support and get involved.
And even if you don't, have a look at the policies and try and educate yourself before you go and vote.
Yeah, find out what they stand for and do they align with what you stand for, and check it out. It's kind of politics month this month, because next episode we've got another very special guest from WA politics. Looking forward to speaking to. I hope it's as good as our chat with Amanda and Nat.
I'm sure it will.
Do you think she'd mind Nat? I didn't even ask her, did I? What about Natto? Do you think she would have liked Natto?
I don't know.
I'm not sure. We'll have to have him back on after.
She left us some lovely limes.
She did. Thanks for the limes, Natto. I'm going to talk to you after the election and see what you think of my nickname I gave you. And thanks, Amanda. Thanks to our listeners. Thanks, of course, to our new listeners in Greenland. Keep listening.
Yeah, we love you, Greenland. And Jem, we miss you. We hope you're having a great time.
I bet she
away.
is. She's having a good old time, I'll tell you right now.
I know.
All right, love you, Jem. And yeah, see you all next episode. Keep listening, and together we shall release the hounds.